Okay, so on number 11, let's classify it. First of all, is there anything you could do with this guy, and this guy? Is there anything, could you add 7a squared b plus 3b squared? Could you combine those? You cannot. Why not? Because they're not like terms, right? You could add a squares with a squares, a's with a's, b's with b's, ab's with ab's, a squared b's with a squared b's. So we cannot add these first two because they're not like terms. But there's three terms. Are any of those alike that you could combine? Yeah. The first one and the last one, right? So this first one is 7a squared b. This last one is a negative 1a squared b. They're both a squared b's. So 7 take away 1 is 6a squared b's. And of course this guy, you're just going to bring it down, plus 3b squared. Is this in standard form? Yes, it is. Now you're probably thinking, wait a minute, both degrees are 2, so how do I know which one, bless you again, both degrees are 2, how do I know which one goes first? Well, it boils down to, if you have the degrees that are the same, go with the letters, alphabetical order, a squared first before b squared. So you have an a squared term, put that first, right? If you had just an a squared all by itself, I would put that even in the front. Okay, so go with the exponents, and then after that, go with alphabetical order. Anyway, this is my answer, and if I wouldn't have combined the two terms, I wouldn't be able to classify it correctly. So what would this classify as? First name would be quadratic. Last name? Binomial. Now, it doesn't ask you, it only asks for, is it a monomial, a binomial, or a trinomial? I want you to classify it. Might as well practice it, okay? How about number 12? Could I combine any of those? Could I combine this plus this? Cannot. You got to have like terms, guys. If this was a y to the third and this was a y to the third, then yeah, you could combine them because they're both y to the thirds. But they're totally different. One's a y to the third, one's a y squared. You can't combine them. Okay? Again, you could combine y's with y's, y squares with y squares, y to the thirds with y to the thirds. You cannot combine a y to the third with a y squared. Okay? And also numbers with numbers, but there is no other constant or no other number all by itself. So you can't simplify it. Could you classify it at least? What is it? Cubic. Trinomial. Excellent. Okay. How about that guy? Is there anything I could do? I can't do anything. Even the letters are in alphabetical order. G, H, I, J, K. So even the letters are already in order. Everything's good. I can't simplify it. It's already simplified. Could I classify it? Is it a cubic? Cubic is absolutely right because the degree is 3. The highest exponent is 3. But do we really have 3 terms? Or is it one term? It's actually one term. Monomial. Okay, if we haven't figured it out yet, guys, what makes it a trinomial is the separation with addition and subtraction. For example, this, x squared plus x minus 5. That's a quadratic trinomial because the plus and minus signs separate them. Now, because this question or this expression on number 13 doesn't have any adding or subtracting, it's all 6 times g squared times h to the third times k. It's all multiplied together. It's all one term. So it's a monomial. You guys got that? Jumping to number 16, it says write each polynomial in standard form. What does standard form mean? Highest exponent down to smallest, which at the very end is your constant without no variable. Okay, so I'm just going to do one of these. We're going to write it in standard form and then identify the leading coefficient, and we might as well classify it also. So if I want standard form, which is my first term? In order, what's my first term? This guy. Right? So that's what I'm going to write first. Positive x to the fourth. What's my next term when it's in order? The positive 4x to the third. So I'm going to go plus 4x to the third. And what's my next term? The 10x. And is this a positive 10x or a negative 10x? So you're going to put plus 10x. If you don't put the plus, it's going to look weird, right? And then at the very end, my constant value, which is negative 7. Okay? So this is in standard form now. That's my answer. And they ask us for a couple of things. They ask us for the leading coefficient. If this is in order, which it is, what's the number that's leading everything? Okay, now when I say coefficient, I'm talking about the number that's in front of your variable. So what number is in front of x to the fourth? 1. So the leading coefficient is 1. Okay? The leading coefficient is 1. And I think they also asked for constant. What's your constant value? The constant is the one that's at the very end without the variable, which is negative 7. Does that make sense? Okay, maybe instead of me doing the homework, let me just ask you this. Let's say you have 2x to the second minus 3x to the fourth plus 5. If you have that, what would you... Well, first, let me ask you this. Is it in standard form? No, definitely not in order, right? So what are we going to do? Take this guy right in the front. Highest exponent. So it's going to be a negative 3x to the fourth plus 2x squared plus 5. That's standard form. Now, how about this? What's the leading coefficient? The leading coefficient is negative 3. And the constant is 5, positive 5.